Ever feel like history class just kind of slammed on the gas when it got to the Philippines?
Oh.
Like zoom, straight from dinosaurs to Spanish ships.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Well, today, we are hitting the brakes hard. We're going way back to uncover the world of the pre-colonial Philippines.
It's a fascinating period.
Because it's about so much more than just waiting to be discovered, you know? It's about these vibrant cultures, powerful kingdoms. We're talking connections that spanned entire oceans. And to help us dive in, we've got Festa Pinoy, a site that's dedicated to, well, celebrating Filipino culture, past and present.
And they have some incredible resources on the pre-colonial era. It goes way beyond the usual stuff you see.
Right. Forget simple timelines. Buckle up, because we're about to uncover a side of history that deserves way more attention than it gets.
What gets me is when you really dig into this, you realize that the Philippines weren't just passively waiting around. These were societies shaped by literally millennia of interaction, adaptation, conflict even.
And it all starts, like so much of history does, with geography.
Makes sense, right. I mean, we're talking about over 7,000 islands.
Yeah, and I know, thinking about 7,000 islands is a lot. But trust me on this isn't just about memorizing names on a map.
Oh, absolutely not.
It's about understanding how that geography, those islands, shaped everything.
Think about it this way. Instead of one massive empire, right, you've got this incredible mosaic of different communities, each one interacting with its own environment.
So it's like, okay, your island's got volcanic soil. Boom, you're mastering rice cultivation.
Exactly. Or you're on the coast. Okay, chances are you're becoming a skilled fisher, a trader. Those currents are like your highways. It's like ancient Greece, but on a whole other level.
Or with like city-states dotting the Aegean.
Exactly. And you know what happens when you have that kind of geographic diversity? You get this dot explosion, right? This kaleidoscope of cultures, languages, ways of life. It's just dot natural when you think about it.
And it's mind-blowing to think Festa Pinoy points this out.
Yeah.
Some of the earliest evidence we have of humans in the Philippines takes us back to Luzon. Over 4,000 years ago.
Wow!
4,000! And that's thanks to the Austronesians.
Those incredible seafarers.
Right. Practically born with, like, salt water in their veins.
Had to be. To navigate like they did.
Oh, these weren't just, like, casual island hoppers, you know. This was serious maritime expertise. We're talking about navigating vast distances, connecting the archipelago to this whole wider world.
Because it was never just about reaching the Philippines, was it? It was about being a part of these vast migration and trade networks that crisscrossed Southeast Asia.
As like, I don't know, the ancient world's version of globalization.
Yeah.
Goods, ideas, even belief systems, all flowing along these maritime routes.
Exactly. Like these cultural currents constantly in motion.
Okay, hold on. I need to process this for a second. We're talking about a pre-colonial Philippines that was already connected to this web of trade, migration, cultural exchange, centuries before European ships ever showed up. It completely changes how you look at things, doesn't it?
It really does. It challenges that whole narrative of isolation, doesn't it? Like it was just waiting to be discovered.
Right.
When in reality.
Okay, so we've got all these islands, right? These incredible tapestries, cultures, all interconnected. But what about the politics? How did people actually govern themselves in this pre-colonial world?
It's a great question.
Well,
and it's more complicated than just one king ruling over everything, that's for sure.
Right.
Festa Pinoy talks about this fascinating mix, actually. You've got these centralized kingdoms in some places, but then also all these smaller independent communities, each doing their own thing.
Huh. So it's like this balancing act almost.
Yeah.
All these different power structures coexisting.
Exactly. Sometimes coexisting, sometimes,
Yeah, I bet things got interesting. So give me an example then. What did these power structures actually look like on the ground in, say, 1000 AD or something?
Okay, so picture this. You've got the port of Tondo. It's bustling, it's powerful.
This is on Luzon.
Yep,
Right?
Luzon. And they've got a ruler, a lakin.
Okay, a lakin.
And this lakin, they're a big deal, commanding armies, making alliances, overseeing trade.
So Tondo's like a miniature empire then almost.
Kinda, yeah. But here's the thing. Remember those independent villages we were talking about, the barangays?
Oh, right, yeah.
They weren't all lining up to be part of Tondo.
No.
Not even a little. Each barangay, see, they had their own leader, a datu.
A datu.
And the datu was responsible for keeping order, settling arguments, leading in times of war. Think of them like local chiefs, each with their own little territory, their own group of followers.
So you've got Kondo with the Likamans. But then you've also got all these datas running their own shows. Did they ever, bump heads.
Oh, absolutely. Constantly. And that's where things get, well, that's where it gets really interesting. Because the relationship between all these different groups, it wasn't static. It was constantly shifting. Sometimes they'd cooperate, team up for trade or defense.
Like if another island tried to pull a fast one.
Right. But other times, the rivalry, resources, territory, just ambition.
Starting to sound a little like that Game of Thrones vibe we were talking about earlier.
A little bit. Everyone's playing the game, trying to gain power, gain influence.
But hold on. Didn't Festive Pinoy mention something about another empire, though? This one. The Srivijaya. Like they had some pull here, too, right?
Yeah.
Where do they fit into all of this?
The Srivijaya Empire. They were a force to be reckoned with, that's for sure, based in Sumatra.
Okay, so not too far away, relatively speaking.
And their reach. It stretched across Southeast Asia, controlled the maritime Silk Road, basically influenced everything. Trade, what ideas were spreading, even religions.
Okay, so even with all this local stuff happening, all the Tondos and Datas doing their thing, the pre-colonial Philippines weren't exactly cut off from the outside world.
Nope. No island is an island, right?
It really makes you think, like, how did those external pressures, how did the Srivijaya showing up affect the dynamics between a powerful kingdom like Tondo and then, these Datas trying to hold on to their independence?
Oh, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it probably played out in different ways all across the archipelago. Imagine the Srivijaya show up.
Right.
Suddenly, you're a ruler. You've got to make a choice. Some of them, they might have gone, okay, better to join them than fight them. Swear allegiance to the Srivijaya, get that protection, maybe get in on those lucrative trade routes.
Makes sense.
But then others, they might have dug in, strengthened their defenses, doubled down on their independence. It would have taken some serious guts.
Talk about high stakes. But it wasn't all war and political intrigue, right? I mean, people had lives beyond all the conquering and trading. What about the culture, the art, the everyday lives of the people living in this world? So we've talked about the powerful Lakans, the savvy Datas, but what was life actually like for, everyday Filipinos in this pre-colonial world?
It's easy to get caught up in the politics, the trade.
Right, all the Game of Thrones stuff.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, it's how people found meaning in their lives that I find so fascinating. And in the pre-colonial Philippines, so much of that meaning was tied to storytelling, spirituality, art.
And Festus Tinoy, they've got all this great info on this stuff. Like, they mentioned this epic poem, the Hini Lawad. Have you heard of this?
Oh, yeah. It's like their version of the Odyssey, almost, passed down for generations, shaping how people see the world.
That's what I was thinking. Okay, so give us the rundown. What's the Hingalawat all about?
Well, it's full of gods, mythical creatures, heroes who embody the values of that time. It's not just entertainment, though.
Right.
It was a way to pass down knowledge, history, beliefs from one generation to the next.
It's like their cultural DNA, in a way.
Exactly. And it gives us this incredible glimpse into their cosmology, their understanding of the universe and humanity's place in it all.
Wow. Okay, so we've got these epic stories. What about their belief systems in general? Was there, one main religion back then?
Actually, no. It was surprisingly diverse. I mean, the arrival of Islam would shake things up later on, of course, but during this period, you'd find this fascinating mix of different indigenous beliefs.
Okay, like what?
Well, ancestor worship was huge. People believed the spirits of their ancestors could still, influence their lives directly.
So you had to keep on your ancestors' good side.
Pretty much. And you'd also find practices like shamanism, where spiritual leaders could communicate with the spirit world, even heal the sick.
So it's not like one size fits all.
Not at all. It's a really rich, really complex spiritual landscape.
Okay, so we've got these epic poems, we've got diverse belief systems. What about the art? What kind of things were people creating?
Oh man, where to even start? Imagine this. You're trekking through the mountains of Luzon, right? And suddenly, you come across these rice terraces carved into the slopes.
Wait, literally carved into the mountain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like giant green staircases. That's the legacy of the Ifugao people. And it's not just agriculture, right? It's art, it's engineering, it's this deep spiritual connection to the land, all rolled into one.
That's incredible. Festive Pinoy has some amazing pictures of these, by the way, listeners. Definitely check them out after the episode. So rice terraces, that's amazing. What else?
Well, Festive Pinoy also talks about the Tiboli people. They're known for their textiles, their beadwork.
Oh, yeah. Their designs are incredible.
Yeah, the skill involved. Imagine creating these pieces. using natural dyes, hand-loomed fabrics.
Like that connection to their heritage, passed down through generations.
Absolutely. And it just goes to show this wasn't some primitive society, not by a long shot. Sophisticated art, complex beliefs, these incredible stories that tied everything together.
We've got to circle back to trade one last time, though, before we wrap up.
Yep.
Because Festive Pinoy mentions how the pre-colonial Filipinos were trading with places as far away as China.
Yeah.
What kind of impact did that have on their culture?
Trade was this constant cultural current, bringing in new ideas, new materials, new technologies.
Right.
We already talked about the Srivijaya Empire, but imagine traders coming back from voyages with silks from China, spices from the Moluccas, even just stories of these far-off lands. It's like
bringing back souvenirs, but on a whole other level.
Exactly. And of course, it wasn't just a one-way street. The pre-colonial Filipinos, they were masters of adaptation.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. They'd take these outside influences and they'd make them their own. They weren't just imitating, they were innovating, creating this unique blend that was constantly evolving. So, as we're wrapping up this deep dive, what really strikes me is what a dynamic world this was, the pre-colonial Philippines, shaped by both internal and external forces, always adapting, always changing.
Makes you think, what else is out there waiting to be discovered?
That's the beauty of it all, right? History's not static. Every new archaeological find, every artifact, it's a chance to challenge what we think we know,
It's a good reminder that history's not just dates in a textbook.
Nope.
It's a conversation.
That never really ends.
And on that note, to all our fellow deep divers out there, keep asking those questions. Keep exploring. Who knows what you might find? Thanks for joining us for this incredible journey through the pre-colonial Philippines.